Distinguished colleagues, fellow researchers, and friends, thank you for joining me today as we explore one of humanity's most enduring and complex narratives, the Israelite exodus from Egypt. Standing here at UC San Diego's Qualcomm Institute, surrounded by cutting-edge research that bridges disciplines and cultures, it seems fitting to examine how this ancient story continues to resonate across our interconnected world. It was 12 years ago that we hosted our first Exodus conference here, published as a Springer volume. Today, we have put most of the band back together to explore the application of new approaches to the Exodus. I'm very sorry to say that due to the closing of Ben Gurion Airport in Israel, our Israeli colleagues could not join us. Fortunately, they will present by Zoom. The Exodus means many different things to many people. It is variously the second book of the Hebrew Bible or Old Testament, the Israelites' liberation from captivity in Egypt, an event dismissed by some scholars as mythical, the collective memory of many tribes of ancient Israel, the commemoration by Jews each spring as the festival of Passover. And the Exodus story has been a very potent symbol of liberation for the African American community. The multiplicity of meanings is precisely what makes the Exodus so compelling for transdisciplinary study. It exists simultaneously as a religious text, historical claim, archaeological puzzle, anthropological phenomenon, inspirational quest for freedom, and political metaphor. Rather than seeing these perspectives as contradictory, we can understand them as different lenses through which human experience refracts this foundational narrative. From an archaeological perspective, the Exodus challenges us to grapple with the relationship between material evidence and cultural memory. Whether we place the events in the 16th century or the 13th centuries BCE, whether we find direct physical proof or not, the story has shaped civilizations for 3 millennia. The absence of definitive archaeological evidence doesn't diminish its historical impact. It reminds us that some of humanity's most powerful truths transcend the material record. New research highlights ancient Israel's desert origins and the role of the Shasu nomads mentioned in ancient Egyptian texts. This will be a recurring theme in many conference papers. The transdisciplinary approach allows us to explore ancient historical texts, here the Exodus narratives, and the archaeological record using 21st century AI-powered tools such as generative AI, data analytics, machine learning, and more. We can also explore the environmental context of the Exodus using the full range of geoscience methods. The Exodus has profound significance for the 3 great monotheistic religions. For Jews, it establishes the foundational narrative of peoplehood and divine covenant. For Christians, it prefigures themes of salvation and redemption. For Muslims, it validates Moses as a crucial prophet. For secular humanists, it articulates the universal right to freedom and dignity. From a technological perspective, the Exodus raises questions about how traditional narratives adapt to new media and global communication. Social media movements use Exodus imagery, hashtags like #LetMyPeopleGo. They trend during human rights campaigns. Digital platforms allow diaspora communities to maintain connections to ancestral stories while creating new interpretations for contemporary contexts. The Exodus also demonstrates how stories can build bridges between civilizations. Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions all honor this narrative, providing common ground in an often divided world. The archaeological work presented in this conference from Egypt, Israel, Jordan, and throughout the region brings together scholars from many nations, creating international partnerships that transcend political tensions. As we face contemporary global challenges, pandemic recovery, climate change, economic inequality, political polarization, the Exodus offers both hope and realism. It promises that liberation is possible, that oppressive systems can be overcome, that new beginnings can emerge from the most difficult circumstances. But it also warns that the journey towards justice is long, that freedom requires constant vigilance, and that every generation must choose between building inclusive communities and succumbing to the temptation of exclusion. The transdisciplinary study of the Exodus reveals how ancient narratives continue to shape modern consciousness. By bringing together archaeology, anthropology, history, biblical studies, environmental and computer science, and other fields, we gain a richer understanding about how societies create meaning, maintain identity, and navigate change. In closing, our Exodus conference will show that scholarship achieves its highest purpose when it bridges the gap between religious, scientific, and humanistic inquiry and universal human search for meaning. Whether we approach this story as believers or skeptics, as historians or theologians, as archaeologists or from other fields of science, we encounter fundamental questions about freedom, community, and hope that remain as urgent today as they were over 3,000 years ago. This is more relevant today than it was 12 years ago at our first Exodus conference. Please join us at 5 p.m. this evening for the opening of our very exciting Cyber-Archaeology and the Exodus exhibition next door in the V Room and other spaces on the floor. At the end of the exhibition, there is a short video about the Center for Cyber-Archaeology and Sustainability's new project to help the University of Haifa establish Israel's National Center for Marine Archaeology in the port of Haifa. At 5 p.m., we will also host an open bar, free drinks, everybody, and a Mediterranean buffet reception. The exhibition will run through Friday at noon when you are all invited to our Cyber-Archaeology lab on this floor. Our faculty, students, and staff have put a lot of work into building this amazing museum of the future, and I hope you will visit it this evening. There's a map. It's a handout that shows all the spaces on the Qualcomm floor here. I urge you to grab a map so you know where you're going. On behalf of the organizing team, Neil Smith, Brad Sparks, Thomas Schneider, and myself, we're deeply grateful to everyone who made this conference possible. Special thanks to the QI team, Johnny Wynn, Scott Blair, Mika Ono, Casey Polacek, Hector Bracho and his amazing production team, and Neil Smith's dedicated undergraduate students, and Gilad Steinberg. We also appreciate National Geographic photographer Ken Garrett for providing most of the photos you see here on display, and additional acknowledgments are listed outside on the wall. I also want to thank my wife, Alina Levy, for putting up for all my crazy projects. Over the past 20 years, the Qualcomm Institute, next slide, has played a central role in my academic career. I'm pleased to say that my graphic memoir that tells this and many other stories was published yesterday by Equinox in the UK. As conference participants, you get a 25% discount. So grab a flyer.